Greetings, and welcome to Skylanders Portalcasters, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything Skylanders. I am your host, GFDitto, and I am joined today by co-host Inklander. And today we will be talking about portal technology, the technology that makes this series come to life.
Yes, yeah, should be a lot of fun. Who is it? I think it's Arthur C. Clarke that has that quote where it's like, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. The portal is this really cool piece of technology that really feels magical because you see a figurine turn into a video game character, turn into a 3D model in the world of Skylands. And I think that's a really cool concept that is all done through the magic of near-field communication.
Yes, this NFC technology is the heart and soul of what allows for the Skylanders to spring to life. It's the technology that allows for this piece of plastic to figure out which character you're using and store data on not just level ups and money, but also your path choices as well, and how far into those your purchases have been.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool. NFC really didn't have too much use before this, and I really feel like the Toys to Life genre is probably what kind of started NFC to be used a lot more, because now everyone kind of has Google Pay and Apple Pay kind of built into their phones. All their phones have NFC readers in them and are able to kind of act as credit cards and as banks. You know, you're able to like tap them at, Starbucks or whatever. It's pretty interesting that really didn't come along, that didn't really get popularized until after Skylanders. And I kind of wonder if Skylanders had a hand in that, because we didn't really see anything like that before, and the technology existed, but Skylanders came in and found such a cool, innovative way to use near-field communication to literally bring a character to life. And now we see it being utilized all the time.
Absolutely. I believe Toys to Life was truly the start of the near-field technology.
This isn't necessarily new technology. Like, this kind of idea of being able to pull energy from the air has actually existed since Nikola Tesla. He was a big proponent of, Tesla coils. He believed that, these coils could kind of create fields of electricity that could just, pull power from the air, and people could, power their electronics in their homes through these, giant Tesla coils, which, a lot of people were scared by that, and Thomas Edison put out a whole, fear campaign over it. But, sure enough, 100 years later, Tesla coils are now inside the portal power. That kind of idea of being able to pull electricity from the air and power a chip inside a plastic toy, or power a chip, inside your credit card or inside your phone is cool. And I think it's kind of neat that this technology has kind of sort of in its infancy been around since the early 1900s, and it's just now kind of picking up because people were so kind of scared of invisible electricity running around, and it's certainly a really cool way to use it.
It was definitely a very creative way.
Yeah, definitely. The way that NFC really picked up was with Toys to Life, but even more so, I think the amazingness of NFC was really shown with Lightcore in Skylanders Giants.
Yeah, Giants kind of expanded upon the idea of what Skylanders was doing with using the NFC to pull data into the game. It took that and kind of reversed it in a way where it's pulling the information to the game, and at the same time, it's sending the power back to the figure to power this tiny light bulb.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome in that they realized that not only was the portal giving off enough energy to be able to power up the NFC chip, but they're also like, yeah, you know what? We can get these LED lights to light up too. Either in an interview or in one of the developer interviews specifically, the person behind all the portal technology had this crazy notion that, oh yeah, not only is the portal putting out enough energy to be able to read this data off of the NFC chip, but also we can power some LED lights with this. And that was kind of Robert Leyland's, the person that was kind of behind all the portal tech at Toys for Bob. That was kind of his thinking, where he was like, know what if I try to put a LED light in this? And it actually worked. And I believe in one of the interviews, I don't know whether it was like just an interview that I've heard over the years or whether it was in the Skylanders developer commentary specifically, he mentioned that their early prototyping for the light core is they actually realized that enough energy was being unleashed by the portal to where they could actually put lasers in the toys. And they thought it was really cool being able to have these high-powered lasers in the toys, but they quickly realized they would have to scrap it because no amount of laser light is friendly to kids' eyes. So they didn't want to deal with kids, shining the laser light in their eye, because of course, kids, that'd be like one of the first things they would do. So they had to go with like regular LEDs, but still, like knowing that the portal can not only like power the NFC chip up, read the data off of it, power like LED lights, but it can also like power up a full-fledged like laser. Pretty neat.
That is actually pretty incredible that the Portal of Power has that much power. In fact, It has enough power that you can expand that near field, that NFC range, by placing portals that are not even plugged in next to an active portal. And the inactive portals, the portals that aren't plugged into the console, if you place a figure on them, be it a character, a magic item, a vehicle, it will still get read because the proximity to the portal of power that's receiving the direct connection from the console is amplified through.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, this kind of double portal trick thing. And you can pretty much do this with any of the portals, and you're going to be able to have extra space to put on figures, because like sometimes, especially with some of the older portals, like it'd get a little bit crowded. If you had like a giant on there and like a magic item, it's already kind of getting a little full. Or if you're trying to fit two giants on there, but hey, put a portal next to the portal that's plugged in, and suddenly you have a little bit more space. This is actually what I do, is I have the Trap Team portal hooked up, and then behind it, I actually put the Superchargers portal. So the Superchargers portal, while I don't really like the look of it, does have a lot of space where you can put figures and put vehicles, magic items, creation crystals, whatever it may be. So once I kind of run out of room on the Traptanium portal, then I can just put whatever else I need onto the Supercharger portal, and it just picks it up right there. It's a really neat trick, and honestly, it's so cool to know just how much this technology can do.
Now would be a great time to also bring up the 3DS portals. The concept behind these was incredible because, well, it does not read nearly as many NFC chips at one time as the console portals do. It still has that same NFC technology. It can still read the figures while powering the light core element, and it does so in a mobile way. The 3DS portal transfers its data via infrared technology.
Yeah, it's doing a lot.
Therefore, while it can only read one figure at a time, which can be seen as a downside, it also works in conjunction with the expanding of the NFC field.
Mm-hmm.
Through an experiment that Inklander did for one of my speed runs, we have learned that if you take the Traptanium portal inactive, put a trap in the trap slot, and place the trap slot on top of the 3DS portal, your 3DS portal can then read said trap, and in this case, reset it.
Yeah, it's some pretty neat tech. Very useful when it comes to speedrunning tactics or, resetting your traps. Like, one thing that I never really liked with the traps is that once you update that villain, that variant version of it stuck on that trap. But if you didn't have the Wii version of the Skylanders Giants, you couldn't reset it. But now we know that if you just place the trap slot on top of the 3DS portal, then it's going to be able to be reset in Spyro's Adventure on 3DS, which is pretty useful, whether you're trying to speedrun and trying to have empty traps be able to speed up that stuff, or if you just need to reset your trap for some reason. It's pretty useful.
Absolutely useful, and it's amazing how this technology is able to do that. I still don't understand 100% how that's able to be done.
Yeah, I can kind of talk a little bit of the gist of it and kind of sort of how it works. But honestly, this is some really high-tech electrical stuff going on with these portals that is just kind of hidden underneath the plastic casing. And not only isn't just dealing with the NFC. Like, as Ditto mentioned, the 3DS portal has the IR sensor that's also trying to send out a signal, but with all the other portals, including the 3DS portal, it's also lighting up. And with the Trap Team portal, you know, it can light up in all the colors of the elements, and it also lights up in the different colors of the vehicle types, and it also has a speaker in it, which is also doing stuff. So the Traptanium portal at one time is like doing light cues. It's having, you know, voices come out of it. You know, it's trying to read maybe up to 6 different NFC tags at one time if you have tons of different stuff on it. It's really insane, the kind of technology that's going into this and just all the detail. There's a lot of stuff going on with the portals, right? And I think it's really neat that one of the things that they also did with the NFC chip reading is that it takes a couple seconds to be able to unpack all the data on one of the NFC chips. And I think it's really cool how they chose to disguise that. And that's how the magic moment kind of came to be, which, you know, kind of started out as this void area. They added in this kind of wormhole animation where, you know, you load in a Skylander and, you know, it does this really cool kind of vortex thing. And of course, it always loads up the element symbol no matter what the game is. But they did that in order to disguise the loading time. And I think it's cool that the way they kind of disguised the loading time was by adding in, you know, the catchphrase and the animation and the element symbol loading in. I think it's really cool what they decided to do with that, because it does take a couple seconds to be able to get that data off those NFC chips, and the fact that they were just like, let's make this a whole big epic moment was really cool, and it kind of helped disguise that.
This is information that I didn't know about the NFC chip. I didn't realize that that's what the magic moment was. But I now at least understand why they did so much with it, with the magic moment, to make it what it was. Because they did need to disguise the actual loading time of the chip. It may have only been 4 or 5 seconds, but then once you've started an animation and a catchphrase and all that, it gave the series a little bit more of a recognizable brand. Because once Giants started the whole catchphrase thing, that was a thing that stuck around for the rest of the series all the way through Imaginators. To the point where when you design your own Imaginator, even they still have a catchphrase that is required as they load in. They even went so far as to include that as just the way of things in the show Skylanders Academy.
Yeah, I mean, it became a really integral part of Skylanders, the magic moment.
It really did, and, well, it's still annoying in the middle of a speedrun to lose 10.5 seconds because you needed to switch your villain, or, for whatever reason, your portal stopped reading your character in the middle of a stage. It does kind of make sense as to why it's done that way, and it added so much to the series and to the lore in that short 10.5 second period of time. It became such a staple thing that it's a part of the lore now. It's just the way their world works. This has me thinking, if we as Portal Masters were to enter the world of Skylands ourselves through our portals, what would our catchphrase be? Let us know what you think our catchphrases would be and what yours would be.
Yeah, very good question.
Speaking on magical moments, I've just loaded the hidden treasure magic item into my portal because it's time for us to go on a legendary treasure hunt.
Here we are on this week's Legendary Treasure Hunt, and the challenge for this week was to find a lot with the most Series 3 characters, with the max price being $60. This week it is 1 point for every Series 3 Skylander in the lot, and then half a point for every $5 under the max price. And there is also the special bonus point that, as I am the host this week, I can award to whichever lot I think is having something special going on with it. So Ditto, why don't you go ahead and start and talk about your lot, what's in it, and where you found it.
I gotta say, you posed a really good challenge this time. I found a lot on Mercari, a lot of 5 new inbox Skylanders, 3 of them are Series 3. Anchors Away Gill Grunt, Twin Blades Chop Chop, and Big Bang Trigger Happy. Also in this lot, there's Scorp and Heavy Duty Sprocket, which is Series 2, as kind of a bonus. And they are all new in box for $19.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good deal. These are all new in-box Skylanders here, you know, all from Swap Force. You got some new ones. You got a Series 2, and you have 3 Series 3, which I think is pretty cool. So, really, honestly, a good deal, and, you know, right off the bat, I'm gonna have to give you a bonus point. Like, these are new in box. This is a great find, and it's $20. Pretty good deal for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so going off of the rest of your point total there, you have 3 Series 3 Skylanders, so that's 3 points, plus your bonus point gives you 4. And then you are $41 under the max price of $60. That gives you 4 additional points because it is a half point for every 5 under. And so that brings your grand total up to 8 points.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, like, I'd probably snatch this up. $20 for 5 new in-box Skylanders? Not too bad. Now, as for mine, I found my lot yet again on eBay, and it actually has a wide variety of 30 different figures and crystals from across the different games. So you do have some from Giant, some from Trap Team, and of course some from Swap Force as well. The specific Series 3 ones that I have found, there are 7. There is Mega Ram Spyro, there is Ninja Stealth Elf, Dark Ninja Stealth Elf, 2 Knockout Terrafins, Volcanic Eruptor, and Anchors Away Gilgrunt. So that brings my starting total up to 7 points. And then as I am at $32.99 for the price, the max price being $60, that gives me an additional 2.5 points, which brings my total up to 9.5 points total. So I end up winning this week's by 1.5 points.
Well played, Inklander.
Same to you, Ditto. I mean, while you definitely had a hard time finding some of the Series 3, like, yours is a great deal, as always. Finding new in-box stuff just seems to be the thing that you're really good at, and finding it at a good price point, too. But both of these are great. If you're trying to get duplicates of the figures, or honestly anything, I'd say snatch these up. They're pretty good.
They're absolutely both very good deals.
And, I mean, this challenge was definitely a little bit harder. I don't think it's necessarily our hardest challenge. I still think that was new in-box traps. That one was a nightmare. But this one was definitely pretty hard because I think there's only 12 Series 3 Skylanders. And so trying to find the most of those on a lot was pretty challenging. But, you know, just goes to show that if you try to dig through these sites, try to filter and dig through the pages and pages of Skylanders and lots being offered, usually you're going to find pretty good deals like both of these. All right, well, it looks like Flynn is over there waving us over to the Dread Yacht. I think it might be time for us to take our next tour.
Here we are aboard the Dread Yacht. Ooh, I feel like I'm gonna be sick. Something's not quite right here. We're miles above any kind of land, but what is that awful smell? And I think it's affecting Flynn too, because, oh, we're wobbling in a way that's just making me seasick, and it's not like him at all. Oh wait, nope, that's it. There's the reason right there. We're approaching the secret sewers of Supreme Stink.
So it seems that this is going to be the rather toxic place that we're going to be visiting today. A level from Skylanders Trap Team.
Ignoring the smell, the secret sewers of Supreme Stink, and man, that is a mouthful. That's why a lot of speedrunners abbreviate it to SSSS, is a really fun stage. It has a really nice aesthetic to it for what's supposed to be a toxic sewer, and this seems to be one of the homes of the Gillmen. This level, while I didn't feel it was really integral to the storyline, was a lot of fun to play. It's a lot of fun to run through. It's got a lot of nice platforming aspects to it, and it's got block pushing puzzles that really set it apart from some of the other levels in this game. It's got a very unique design, being mostly sewers and piping. Even the battle arena at the end of it incorporates the toxic sludge in a very unique way.
Yeah.
It's got a really enjoyable aesthetic, which is unexpected for a sewer.
That's very true. I definitely think everything with the level kind of goes together pretty well. Kind of takes you from, outside the sewer trying to get into it. Works with the pipes where you're trying to turn off the piping to be able to get inside the sewer. And, you're trying to do the push block to be able to connect the pipes later on in the level. And, it has a wide variety of things going on it. You have to kind of jump platforms to be able to get over the goo. You have to be able to build bridges. And I feel like all of this works pretty well together. It all feels pretty cohesive. I think the only thing that really doesn't feel cohesive is kind of the two trappable villains they chose to place in here. They didn't really quite feel like they fit with the whole aesthetic, but I don't really think that matters too much. I think overall it felt pretty solidly connected, kind of like how Willikin Workshop mostly kind of felt connected by this one idea. So does Secret Sewers of Supreme Stink. This level does feel pretty cohesive when it comes to start, middle, end, all the mechanics kind of coming together to work around this trying to avoid the goo kind of mechanic.
And while a lot of the levels in this game feel longer than they should, this level, while it is one of the longer levels in the game, doesn't feel nearly as long as it is.
That's true.
It just kind of flows by.
Yeah, like vats of toxic goo. Exactly. But it is definitely a long level, but it's not awful.
It doesn't feel long.
Yeah, like, the Swap Forest levels, they all feel pretty long. They feel like they go on maybe 5-10 minutes, a little too long. This one, like, it is long, and it definitely does feel on the long side for a trap team level, but it's not bad. And it is kind of fun. The, aesthetic is pretty cool. The Gillmen are pretty funny, kind of questioning whether you are a Skylander or not, and the kind of irony of them being scared of germs, but also being in a sewer is pretty hilarious. It's that Skylanders humor being built in there, and overall, I think it's a lot of fun. It does something that I think only Skylanders really can do, and it all connects. Like, there's not too much to say about this level. There's so much going on, yet it just feels very cohesive.
I love the Gillmen. They're hilarious, and it's the cherry on top when you're trying to play through that last section of the level as Gilgrunt or Gilrunt, because then you're one of their own, and they're questioning, are you really a Skylander? Let's have you prove it.
Yeah.
And it's, as I said, that's just the cherry on top of what is really quite a comedic experience with the Gillmen.
Yeah, it definitely is funny. Like, they did a good job with the humor in this level. And while characters like Rage Mage do kind of just feel like they were just dropped in there, it doesn't really sidetrack too much. It did its job, and it did its job well.
This is one of my favorite levels in Trap Team. It comes right after the halfway point in the game. So in the middle of a speed run, you've just passed the halfway point, and then you've got this. Well, it doesn't add anything to the story. Just having that break in order to enjoy yourself as you run through these sewers real quick. It's refreshing.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like the Ironjaw Gulch level done correctly.
Yes, exactly. The Secret Sewers of Supreme Stink is Ironjaw Gulch done right. It feels like the nausea's starting to pass. While I am still this clear-headed, we should probably get out of here and head for our next destination, the Archean Arena.
We've arrived yet again at the Archean Arena, the place where two Skylanders battle it out in hypothetical statistical combat. This week, yet again, I'm sure we're going to have an interesting matchup. So, Ditto, why don't you start off with telling us who you've brought to the arena?
This one's going to be an interesting one, Inklander, because the contender I have brought with me today is none other than Night Shift.
Okay.
The teleporting swapper. Night Shift is an undead element Skylander that is classified as a mixed category. He has 600 max hit points, critical hit of 65, armor 29, speed 32, and luck 30. His attack 1 is the 1-2 punch, which does 50 points of damage per hit and has a charge damage of 180 points. His attack 2 is Ethereal Shift, which allows him to teleport in a singular direction, and it causes 45 damage. And his attack 3 is called Vampire's Bite, which does 108 points of damage.
Wow, that's not good. Well, that's good for Night Shift, not good for who I have.
Night Shift is among the swappables, which makes him unique in the sense that he actually gets 4 different path options.
Yes.
2 for his top half and 2 for his lower half. For the sake of Archean Arena, we have blended together the top path for each the top and the bottom piece, and the bottom path for each of the top and bottom piece.
Yes.
So, the paths available to Night Shift. The top paths are called Proper Vampire and Warping Vortexes. This path allows Attack 3, the Vampire's Bite, to deal more damage and increase the amount of healing that Night Shift gets from that attack, and increases the range and damage of Attack 2. The bottom paths are Prize Fighter and Underbat, which allows for Attack 1 to be charged, and allows Night Shift to have a second extra life when defeated.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's not quite unique to Night Shift, but close to unique, is that he does have that life system there that, Crash Bandicoot has, but, Night Shift does it a little bit better. But yeah, Night Shift is pretty versatile, and he also has pretty good stats, too. Especially Vampire's Bite dealing that 108 damage, and the 1-2 punch doing 50 regularly and then charged at 180. It's pretty crazy, honestly.
It is. Night Shift really puts out the damage when he gets in there.
Yes, he absolutely does.
Who did you bring to the arena to face off against this champion contender?
The character that I've decided to bring to the arena this week is one of my favorite Skylanders that I talked about in the favorite and least favorite Skylanders from each game episode. And the Skylander that I have decided to bring is Snapshot from Skylanders Trap Team. Snapshot is a water element who is ranged and has 870 health at level 20 with a critical hit of 56, armor of 29, speed of 65, and luck of 26. His primary attack is the Traptanium Arrow, which deals 35 damage. And then he has the Crystal Slam, which is kind of using it as a smasher weapon, which deals 66 damage. And then he has the Tide Pool effect that is his tertiary and does 41 damage. So his 2 paths are the Crack Shot Croc, where attack 1 gains charge, the arrows explode, and the Traptanium shards splinter off the arrows for additional damage. And then we have the Tide Turner, where attack 3 gains increased area and damage, traps enemies, and calls forth a Kraken. One thing that I really like about Snapshot is he does have a good variety to his stuff. He has the Slam, which kind of acts as a smash attack. He has the arrows, which have range. And he also has the Torrential Tide Pool, which has a lot of range too. I think overall he does pretty well, but the only major stuff that he has up on Night Shift is the health and the speed. And everything else Night Shift kind of has in his favor.
My strategy for this battle would be to immediately lay heavy on the ethereal shifts to dodge through any tide pools or arrows that Snapshot may be sending in my direction, because that is one thing about the dash attack that Night Shift has, is he can teleport through things without taking any damage from them at all whatsoever. The goal would be to get in close enough that I could fire off those 1-2 punches and rotate in some Vampire's Bites to keep my health high and for the added damage, so that I could rack up that damage as quickly as I possibly could. And if the healing isn't enough and I do happen to go down, I do automatically have 1 life that is standard to Night Shift. I would have chosen the top path so that I have the higher range on Ethereal Shift and the higher damage from the 1-2 punch. So I wouldn't get that second extra life, but I would have 1 automatically, and I think that despite Snapshot's advantage in health and in speed, I think that just laying it on heavy and, if necessary, using that extra life, Night Shift would outlast him, I have no doubt.
Probably, yeah. Even though Snapshot does have more health, Night Shift does have the ability to come back from the dead, and Night Shift's critical hit and armor and luck are higher than Snapshot's as well by quite a bit in most categories. Well, armor's actually the same, but critical hit and luck decent amount higher. And also the primary, at like all the attacks really, except in the case of attack 2, Night Shift also has up on Snapshot. So I would probably try to keep Night Shift at a bit of a range and use the Traptanium arrow, but at the same time, Night Shift does have the Ethereal Shift that would be able to get in close and deal some damage. So it is kind of all over the place in terms of what I would probably be trying to do. I would be mostly trying to stay away from that Vampire Bite because it does have a little bit of range, not too much, but enough to where any kind of Ethereal Shift from Night Shift could be enough to be able to get in and use that tertiary attack. So with Snapshot, I'm really going to be trying to use that Traptanium arrow and kind of just running away, which will probably not be enough because that will chip away at the health, but then again, Night Shift getting close to be able to chip away a lot more. So I think Snapshot is probably going to lose this one in 2 out of 3.
I would say easily.
Yeah, I would say that too. Like, Snapshot probably could win like 2 out of 10 maybe, but yeah, I'd say that Night Shift is probably going to be the one that has it here.
I do believe so.
So it seems that the winner of Archean Arena this week would be Night Shift, the boxing champion himself.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. You'll find our website and our individual channels listed in the description. Follow our Twitter at SLPortalcasters for regular Skylanders discussion and Imaginator design challenges. Thank you for listening, and in the next episode, we will be discussing our favorite and least favorite games in the series. See you then.
Bye. Who is it? I think it's Arthur C. Clarke that has that quote where it's like, any kind of sophisticated technology to the eye of the common person looks like magic.
Wow, you really botched that quote.
Yes. Well, it was close-ish.